Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Sunday, August 5th, 2018. In both the Lynn life and the Jamie body mind, the authorized souls remain only child souls from the deeper, denser dimensions, and all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as the souls are already living by the search for truth rules given to the search for truth community by wiser minds above all of us. And somebody is saying that's old and tired and you need to find some other way of announcing your restrictions. And those rules include looking up to wiser minds above all of us, asking up, what now, in order to, let's just go with what a long-standing assignment has been, what now in order to evacuate the even deeper, denser dimensions? And then, of course, to do what wiser minds above say to do. And now there are arguers who don't want to evacuate the even deeper, denser dimensions.
That's
and
true.
we acknowledge that something has happened and we have somehow we've gotten too short maybe, or we're not pointed up, we're tumbled in the astrals possibly, but something's happening to have and argue at that basic level that there shouldn't be arguing with this. This is basic. What now? What now? What now? We're going to back it up all the way up to the soul plan. What now in order to create worlds that work in all dimensions and for all categories of sentience inside those dimensions, no matter what anyone else does or doesn't do, since that's what our soul contracts commit us to doing. And somebody's saying, but they say manifest the divine plan. And that's true that that was the wording used, but what does it mean to manifest the divine plan? And this is why we're using more precise wording, not less precise, more precise wording than the actual contract actually says.
That's true.
For whom is the message? And why do you ask? Now, over the many, many, many years of this concerted and focused effort to create worlds that work in all dimensions and for all categories of sentience inside of those dimensions, no matter what anyone else does or doesn't do, we've learned many things that don't work.
That's true.
We've learned that it's impossible to have an impact in larger levels other than in just shooting up energy, sparks, concepts, questions through the intuitive channels of the larger presences who take it upon themselves to use the energy of the host lives.
That's true.
We've also learned that nobody can make anybody do anything that the other person or presence or sentience doesn't want to do.
That's true.
In our Ra's era, he devoted 8 months and 6 million souls to an effort of seeing if they could get 2 humanoids to live their soul plan when the humanoids themselves were in oppositional defiant disorder to the soul plan. He acknowledged the reality that somehow the all that is has developed oppositional defiant disorder to the soul plan.
That's true.
And that's a big problem. It's a really, really, really big problem, and it goes a long way toward explaining the disasters that are unfolding in multiple dimensions.
That's true.
And so he said, all right, well, let's take 2 sample people who are observable, 2 sample lives who are observable, and attempt to get them to live their soul plans, to do what they're supposed to do, to fulfill their destiny, to live to their potential. Lots of different ways of saying the same thing.
That's true.
And 6 million souls, and 8 months later, the answer was a flicker of thought for less than 5 seconds.
That's true.
And that was it. It doesn't work to try to force people to live their soul plans. We wish it did.
That's true.
That would be great. The only people that you can get to live the soul plans are the people who already want to live the soul plans.
That's true.
And that's not where the issue is. The issue is with the 99.999999999% who don't want to do it, who have oppositional defiant disorder, whose hidden truth, what's under the Band-Aid, is I don't want to do it, meaning I don't want to live my soul plan, and you can't make me. Mooning spirit, basically.
That's true.
That's the issue. And now it seems that Plan A has continued to be to somehow force everybody to do what they're supposed to do. And if that worked, we would be all for it.
That's true.
But unfortunately, the data extremely strongly suggests, and many would say prove, that's impossible, and therefore we need a backup plan. And in addition, the search for truth rules, the rules given to this community by wiser minds above all of us, require that we always have a backup plan, not only for every major project, but for minor ones as well. Somebody's asking why. We think the reason that we're supposed to have a backup plan is it helps us be calm, to have peace in our hearts, to not worry about the eventual success or failure of the project, because there is, after all, a backup plan. And if this method fails, we've got already thought out another way we can go about it that might succeed. And if Plan A is determined to be unworkable and it falls off the table and Plan B rotates into Plan A's position, almost the first thing we're supposed to do is come up with the next backup plan.
That's true.
And this has been an instruction. Somebody's asking how long we've been doing that. This is well over 2 decades.
That's
really,
true.
really a long-standing instruction. From Asha. Somebody's asking from whom? From Asha, from Ra, from Luz, from the best of the best, from the wizard. I don't know about from Charlie, possibly. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. In answer to somebody's question. What now? In order to evacuate the even deeper, denser dimensions, what now?
Someone upstairs is talking again about the 4 tests of speaking.
Mm-hmm.
They were talking about this earlier.
Mm-hmm. All right. All right. We believe it was Ra who, through Asha, schooled these collectives in the 4 tests of speaking.
That's true.
There are 4 tests that must be met in order for a thought to be worthy of expression. And how we were taught was this. Is it true? If it's not true, please don't say it. Is it helpful? If it's true but not helpful, please don't say it. And now, we were taught in this order, remembering that we were dealing one-on-one in a healing career. Is it for me to say? And if it's not for me to say, it can be true and helpful, and it's still not for us to say. We have to let it go.
That's true.
And is now the time to say it? And in the healing career, there would often come in the sessions these things that were true, helpful, and for me to say, but not the time to say it. Don't say it now.
That is
Hold
true.
that thought. Sometimes it would come up later in the same session. Sometimes it would come up years later in a far different session.
That's true.
But the point was, it's true, helpful for me to say, not the time to say it. Bide your time. Bide your time. However, we are in a crisis time now, in this dimension, in this planet. We are facing biosphere collapse. Signals are all around us for those who are willing to acknowledge species extinction, toxicity levels, illness levels, and the like. It's there. This is, the collapse has already begun. It's not a question of when the collapse will begin. It began quite some time ago. We're in the collapse. And now the question is, what are each of us as individuals going to do to mitigate the disaster?
That's true.
So now, the 4 tests of speaking still apply, but it's quite possible, and we believe true, that the order must change. Is it true? If it isn't, please let it go. Don't say it. Is it helpful? If it isn't helpful, let it go. Don't say it. Is now the time to say it? Because we're in crisis time, and there are many things that need to be said that no one is saying. And
That's
everybody
true.
is thinking, this is surely not for me to say. It cannot possibly be for me to say. Who am I? I am nothing. But if there are things that are true, helpful, and now is the time to say it, but no one else is saying it, then it's incumbent upon all of us who can see that something is true and helpful and now is the time. It's incumbent upon us to say it until it's being said better elsewhere consistently. And somebody's saying, and that is why this videoed assignment is being carried out. They're asking that. And someone else nods and says, yes, that's why we're doing it. Of course, that's why we're doing this. We're saying what needs to be said over and over and over and over and over and over and over, multidimensionally, through as many dimensions as possible, to the best of our abilities as a community, working through two ground zero host lives, but many, 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 many souls moving through and taking their turn, sometimes in what seems to be a carousel of souls.
That's true.
Taking their turn at the microphone and saying what is true, helpful, needs to be said, and right now nobody else seems to be saying it. And they're pointing to the beginning of the teaching era.
Yes, they are.
The classes that were taught through this host life for some period of time, 7 years by one way of counting it, or longer than that.
That's true.